Chapter 2. The Promise of the Unknown. The next morning greeted Elias with a grey sky and the smell of rain. He woke early, long before the city had fully stirred, and sat at the edge of his narrow bed, listening to the faint rumble of carriages in the streets below. His body was tired, his feet sore from walking the day before. But inside him there was a flicker of excitement, a quiet flame that came from knowing he was exactly where he had dreamed of being. On the road, building something from nothing. He washed, dressed carefully, and packed his suitcase with the precision of a ritual. Each brush and polished tin was laid out neatly in its place, as if to remind him that order in the suitcase might bring order to the day. Before leaving, he stood for a moment by the window. The rain had started to fall, thin silver lines against the cobblestones. Somewhere in the distance, church bells were ringing. Elias smiled faintly. A good day to sell polish, he murmured to himself. He stepped outside and pulled his coat tighter against the chill. The city, larger than any he had seen before, felt like a living creature, breathing through its alleys and avenues. It was a place of contradictions, wealth and poverty, laughter and despair, all intertwined. Every face he passed told a story, and every street corner offered a chance to begin a new one. That morning, he decided to walk rather than take the tram. There was something about walking that grounded him. It allowed him to see the world not as a blur from a window, but as a series of moments, one step at a time. His first stop was a small general store, run by a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Leclerc. Her shelves were filled with all manner of goods: soap, candles, thread, sugar, salt, and tobacco. The bell above the door chimed softly as he entered. "Good morning, madam," Elias said, doffing his hat politely. "My name is Elias Moreau. I represent the Moreau Cleaning Company. May I take a moment of your time?" She eyed him with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "You salesmen are all the same," she said, but there was no malice in her tone. "You talk fast, smile bright, and vanish before the next rain." Elias smiled, unfazed. "Then I hope to leave you with something that lasts longer than the rain." Mrs. Leclerc raised an eyebrow, amused despite herself. "You've got a tongue on you. Go on then. Show me what you've brought." He set his suitcase on the counter, carefully displaying the brushes and polish as he had practiced. His voice was steady, confident, and this time, perhaps because of the encouragement of his first sale, the words came easily. He spoke not just about the products, but about what they meant: care, pride, and the simple dignity of keeping one's things in good condition. To his delight, Mrs. Leclerc bought 2 brushes and several tins of polish, saying she would try them out and perhaps order more if her customers liked them. As she handed him the coins, she said, "You remind me of my son. He's gone off to Paris to chase his own dreams. I hope you find what you're chasing, too." Elias thanked her sincerely, feeling the warmth of her words, long after he left the shop. He was beginning to understand that every sale was not only an exchange of goods, but of humanity. For every transaction, there was a moment of recognition, a bridge, however brief, between 2 lives. By midday, the rain had stopped. The streets shone with puddles that mirrored the grey clouds overhead. Elias bought a loaf of bread and a small wedge of cheese from a street vendor and sat on a bench in the square. Around him, life unfolded in all its messy beauty: children chasing pigeons, merchants calling out prices, a musician playing an old violin for coins. He ate slowly, savoring not just the food, but the simple satisfaction of being in motion. The road, he realized, was not just a means of getting somewhere, it was a state of being. There was something liberating about having no fixed address, no walls to contain him. Every day promised something new, something unknown. and though uncertainty often frightened him, it also filled him with a strange kind of hope. That afternoon he ventured farther from the city centre, where the streets grew narrower and the buildings older. Here the air smelled of damp wood and coal smoke. He stopped at a tailor's shop, then a small cafe, then a hardware store. Each time met with varying degrees of success. Some listened, some didn't, but with every encounter, Elias grew more skilled at reading people, the way their eyes flickered with interest or closed with indifference. The subtle signs that told him when to speak and when to remain silent. By evening he had made 5 more sales. Modest, but respectable. His notebook filled with names, addresses, and small notes about each customer. Mrs. Leclerc and eyes. Possible future orders. Mr. Gerard Taylor loves quality craftsmanship. Calf owner skeptical. Revisit next month. Back at the inn, Elias spread his notes across the small table by the window. The city outside was alive with lights, reflections shimmering on the wet streets. He felt exhausted, but his exhaustion was laced with purpose. For the first time in his life, he felt the quiet pride of a man who was shaping his own fate. He wrote in his notebook, "The unknown no longer frightens me as it once did. There is promise in every face I meet. The road is wide, yes, but it is not empty. Each person is a light, however small, guiding me forward." As he wrote, he thought of his mother's words about kindness. He wondered if she was thinking of him at that very moment, perhaps imagining where he might be, what he might be doing. He wished he could tell her how the world looked from here, the way the sky stretched endlessly above him, the way strangers became friends, even for a moment. Later that night, as he prepared to sleep, there was a knock at his door. When he opened it, he found a boy no older than 12 standing there with a folded letter in hand. "Are you Mr. Elias Morrow?" the boy asked. "Yes," Elias said, puzzled. The boy handed him the letter. "A man at the station said to give you this if I saw you here." Elias thanked him, gave him a coin, and closed the door. The envelope was unmarked, sealed with red wax. He opened it carefully, his heart quickening. Inside was a single sheet of paper, written in elegant handwriting he did not recognize. "Mr. Morrow, I have heard of your work and would like to discuss an opportunity that may be of great interest to you. Meet me tomorrow morning at the Grand Hotel Café, precisely at 9 o'clock. A friend." Elias stared at the note, the words stirring both curiosity and apprehension. Who could this friend be? He had only been in the city 2 days. Could it be someone from his uncle's business, a customer, or perhaps a trick? He folded the letter and placed it carefully inside his notebook. Whatever awaited him the next morning, it was part of the road Estazide, the mysterious way in which the unknown continually invited him forward. That night, he dreamed of train tracks disappearing into fog, of faces he had yet to meet, and of roads stretching endlessly toward horizons he could not yet see. And in that dream, a voice whispered, a voice that sounded like his mother's, "Keep walking, Elias. The road remembers those who walk with purpose." When morning came, Elias rose before dawn. The rain had stopped, and a thin beam of sunlight cut through the window. He packed his suitcase, straightened his tie, and looked at his reflection in the mirror. For the first time, he didn't just see a young man selling polish. He saw a traveler, a seeker, someone stepping willingly into the promise of the unknown.